I am so excited. Hey guys, this is Sophia and welcome to another video. This is part 2 of our apartment hunting in New York, where I'm going to share with you the apartments that my fiance and I went to go see, any thoughts I had on them, as well as share at the end of the video some experiences I had with brokers. I honestly thought this was just going to be one video and then a moving vlog, but turns out the amount of footage I have and the experiences I went through, it's just way better to just kind of split it up. This is going to be all of the apartments that we toured basically in August. If you haven't seen that video also goes into what our criterias are, as well as some FYIs. So if you're interested in kind of getting that information before watching this video, I'm gonna leave a link somewhere on the screen. That video is timestamped, so you can kind of just click through whichever section you want to watch. I did not actually put the apartment we ended up going with and signing with in this video, just because I want to do like a whole separate, empty apartment tour. But let's get into it, and as usual, I have my notes on my phone. Let's like fly through these a lot quicker than the first video, huh? Okay, so the first apartment was in Boerum Hill. Pros: it had a large kitchen, plenty of natural light. The rooms are actually very decent size, and there was an in-unit washer dryer. There was no central air, but I think the owner was providing the AC units, and they had a balcony, which was nice. The con was, I don't consider this on a main street, but it is on a busy street. So that just means there's a lot of traffic flows going right by the front of the apartment, and it also sat on top of a commercial business. It was a walk-up, and when the windows were open, you could hear a lot of the traffic noise. The second apartment, I wrote it down here as the second apartment that got away. However, once we signed the lease for the apartment we wanted, this one I would consider more like the third apartment, third favorite. So the pros of this one was it was very close to a park. It was literally just a block away, which was nice. There was tons of natural light because they had like a skylight situation. It was a super cozy unit. The entire building went through a gut renovation like a few years prior, so a lot of the appliances were new. There were closets in all of the rooms. Had a really, really deep bathtub. I think it was one of the deepest ones we've seen. They also had access to a roof. All of the windows were pretty big, but both sides of the apartment unit had big trees in front of the windows, and so it felt very shady. It felt very cool. The management company also preferred someone who could sign a 2-year lease, which honestly, like for us, it was actually ideal for us to get a 2-year lease. So the cons: it was a walk-up building. Kitchen appliances were on the smaller side. There was also no microwave. Other kind of potential con that we could see is that after a while, it could become a tight fit for us. But let's be honest, all of those cons are things we can get over. And so we actually applied for this apartment. We didn't get it. I'm gonna go into that in a whole separate video, like you're gonna see the whole vibe. So the third apartment was in Clinton Hill. Pros was that it had a basement, and the basement plus the rooms on the first floor had a lot of room, and it was a pretty big kitchen. The cons: the lighting in that unit was absolutely terrible. We went to tour around 12 o'clock and it was dark. The link on StreetEasy made the apartment look so bright. This unit only had a laundry hookup. It was on an actual pretty active street of cars. There was no buffer between the unit window and the street. The next apartment was in Williamsburg. The pros of this apartment was that it had an elevator. There was a package room. There was nice natural light into the rooms. It was a nice sized kitchen, and the bathroom was sizable, and it actually had an inbuilt kind of storage. The cons: the rooms were very small. Both of the rooms could really just only fit a bed, and that was basically it. Living space was also quite small. This unit felt a little bit too expensive for what you were getting. I think you're really just paying for the neighborhood. The next apartment, this one is also one that we applied to. So the pros of this one: it had great natural light, and it was on the top floor. They had very decent sized appliances in the kitchen, and they had a pretty big washer dryer. There was also plenty of storage options, which was nice. Along the hallway, like they really made use of all of the hallway space. It was also in a brownstone. It was close to the AC subway line, and it was honestly a great price. For the amount of space you were getting, could not be beat. Honestly, I was having a hard time finding cons for this unit. While we were there, we saw a dead roach. It's not a big deal. The apartment was not occupied. So as you can see, this was pretty much like a perfect apartment for us. And so we did apply. Didn't get it, We were sad. Apartment 6. So the pros of this apartment was there was honestly more than enough room for both of us. So it was a 3-floor situation. Each floor had its own room and its own bathroom. There was also plenty of storage, like all of the closets were very decent sized. There was central air. This building has a gym, and I use gym very loosely here for this particular building because it kind of felt like they just had empty space. And so they were like, okay, what can we put here? 1 elliptical, 1 treadmill, and weight rack, but there were no weights. So either it had all been taken or it hadn't arrived yet. And this unit was on a 1st floor, which meant that we didn't have to deal with a walk up. Now the cons, and this is something that I know I've mentioned a few times, but I didn't realize how important it was to me. And there was no buffer between this unit and the street. The kitchen and the appliances in the kitchen was also pretty small. Okay, next apartment. Pros was this unit had a private garden. It had a decent sized kitchen and appliances. They had a very large living room, and it also had quite a large basement. It was literally just one big basement. Okay, the cons. This unit kind of lacked storage. It was a very dark unit. We went to tour around 2:30 and I walked in and I was like, why is it so dark? The windows had like iron guards, as well as the basement also had terrible lighting. It technically also only has 1 bedroom. It had a broker's fee. Next apartment. So the pros, this was a rent stabilized unit and the price was really good. This unit was also recently renovated like a few years ago. It was super bright, so much storage. They had a basement and the basement had a lot of windows. This unit had some of the highest ceilings I've ever seen. So the cons, these were the cons that unfortunately kind of prevented us from feeling like we wanted to apply. There was no central air. For me, as I was walking through, I was like, I feel like I could get over it. But the catch is that this building's heat is building controlled. The other thing was that the kitchen is in a really awkward location almost. Like it's like part of the hallway, but it's like inbuilt a little. And then the biggest thing was that as we were leaving and walking away from the unit, this was still within the radius of the building, okay? Because this was like a pretty big residential building. We saw a giant rat run right across from us, right in front of us. So that was, for me, like a no-go, because also this unit had a fire escape moat around the basement. And so I was like, if I'm gonna see a big rat on the outside, does that mean that that fire escape moat around our basement is also gonna be filled with pests and rats? It was kind of a bummer, honestly, for those cons, because otherwise this unit was pretty much perfect. Next apartment. The pros, this had huge windows in the living room. Kitchen was nice and had a great size appliances. It does have a small balcony and very good amount of storage. The bathrooms are a nice size and it was close to the G subway line. The cons, this unit my fiance actually really liked. The reason why we didn't apply was because as we were touring, someone was saying that like, oh, like if we've already applied, like how long can we wait? And so I hear someone else has applied, I'm like, okay, automatically, probably if we apply, it's gonna be a waste of time. There's no point in doing it. This unit only had 2 rooms, but it had a pretty large living room space. So our thought was like one of us would just have our workspace outside. And then it was kind of honestly pricey, especially with a broker's fee. Okay, the next apartment, pros. There was more than enough space for both of us. There was actually 2 balconies. It was a top floor apartment, also a very new building. It was a pretty good price for the amount of space, great natural light. Cons was this was one of those broker's fees that wasn't just like a regular 1 month. It was 1 month plus 10% of like the annual. As we were walking out of the building, I saw a big paper sign from management with a picture of a package thief, and there was no microwave. The next apartment, the pros, it was on a tree-lined street. It matches our needs and has an extra bathroom. 2 of the front bedrooms got great natural light, very sizable balcony. Both sides of the apartment had trees in front of it, and the kitchen was very much sizable, but you would still definitely need like a kitchen island. The cons, it's really not convenient to a grocery store or a gym, nor is it convenient to a subway stop. The ceilings of the unit was already seeing so much water damage. So this apartment we did apply to as well. We did not go with this apartment. I'm gonna explain this again in that video. So next apartment, the pros, this pros is very short. The pros, it was a 3-room, 1 bath, and they had nice size appliances. The cons, however, was that it had a very small living room / den situation. One of the rooms in the middle of the unit that doesn't have any windows, only has a fan. And then for the last apartment, this one was in the same building as the previous one I was just talking about, but this one was on the first floor. So it was a duplex, which was nice, which meant we got more space. It had 1.5 bath, which is what we preferred. It was a very, very bright apartment unit. They had an inbuilt kitchen counter. The kitchen appliances were pretty big as well. It was located in a great location. The cons, like I was saying, not all the rooms have AC. One of the rooms didn't have a window. There was no real living room to speak of. And then the building was prone to packaging theft. Again, they had a management kind of notice there. If the front door of the building is not locked, anyone can literally walk into the building. So I'm going to talk about brokers really, really quickly before my camera dies. So the first thing that I want to talk about is broker's fees. I will say a lot of the units that we went to go see actually did not have broker's fees. However, we were comfortable with paying a broker's fee as long as the broker we were working with was knowledgeable, helpful, and was friendly. The unit we ended up settling with, it did have a broker's fee. It was much more manageable for us than with other units that we saw. At one point, we applied to an apartment, but didn't end up giving a security deposit because for us, that unit had a really, really high broker's fee. It was like 7,000 plus. And my fiance and I were talking, and he was basically saying that I like the apartment enough, but I don't know if I like it enough to swallow that broker's fee. And so we actually went back to the broker because the broker kept asking us like, hey, are you gonna put down a security deposit? And we were just like wishy-washy. And so we ended up just being honest. We were like, hey, like, we really like the apartment, but we're not sure about that broker's fee because it's a lot of money. He actually came back to us and was like willing to work with us on it. And so if you do find a unit with a broker's fee, I think it's worth talking to the broker about if it's making you uncomfortable, if it's too much money. I feel like they probably won't go under a certain amount. It's not gonna be like no broker's fee. But again, it kind of depends on your own comfort level. So for us, like, for our current unit that we applied to and that we got, the broker's fee was still a little high, but it was okay. And for us, we liked the apartment so much that we were willing to eat that cost. So we weren't interested in going back and forth because we knew that we were on the interested parties and we didn't want to lose out on the opportunity for this unit. Other brokers experience I had includes like some brokers just straight up did not even show up to the apartment and had the tenants themselves show us the unit, which truly astounded me. They emailed me and was like, hey, this is the tenant's phone number. Text them when you arrive. And I was like, what? Another experience I had was that I was texting a broker 2 minutes, 3 minutes before I arrived. I said, hey, like, I'm like a few minutes away. He was like, great. We get there. I say, I'm here. And he calls me and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't make it. Here's the code to the building. Left it unlocked for you. You can go in. And I was like, I texted you in advance and you still couldn't tell me that you're not gonna be there and that this is a code. That left such a sour taste in my mouth. Me, I'm like, okay, I don't care if you don't make it. Like, I understand brokers have lives too, but at least tell me in advance so I'm not just like surprised when I arrive, especially because they had given me no indication prior to even making the appointment that they could not make it. I'm gonna finish the video down here because my camera is dead, so I'm charging it and the charging cord is really short. So I feel like the broker's experience in New York really varies. Even though I'm saying a lot of like negative experiences, there's been really great experiences as well. Like, for example, the second apartment that we applied to, that broker was amazing. He was so funny. He was very friendly. He was able to answer all of our questions and he was very passionate about the unit, but also the building, the area. Like, he was very knowledgeable. That was honestly most of the kind of brokers experiences we had, which was great. It just feels like it can go any way at any given time. If you're looking in the New York real estate market, working with brokers is basically unavoidable unless you're trying to live in like one of those big apartment unit complexes where they have basically like a leasing office. The other thing is that some brokers, some companies, they have an actual like online form you can fill out versus some they'll just send you a PDF and ask you to edit a PDF. Not just the broker's experience, but also application experience. You really don't know what you might be getting, which is really fascinating, honestly. I can say it's fascinating now because this process is over for me, but while you're in it, it is rough out there. Like I said, I'm going to be doing a whole like learnings and mistakes we made video that kind of goes into more in depth of what we learned from this process, especially as people who are new implants to the city. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful for you. If you have any questions or anything or tips and advice that you can give other people or that you would have me know for the next time I do this, which hopefully won't be anytime soon, please let me know in the comments. But otherwise, I will see you next time for another video. Bye guys, and thank you for watching.